love, courage, truth. Glenn Beck.
We live in an age of technological disruption. It is everywhere. Transportation, space flight, the way we make things, retail. I mean, how many of us went shopping online instead of going in and, knifing it out in the aisles of Walmart? Everything is about to change. Some of the changes are happening where you least expect it, even the way we spend money, save money, or invest. Money and currency is going through its own technological revolution, and digital currency is the wave of the future. Bitcoin surged past 9,000 yesterday morning. As of right now, it is at 9,750, 96.61. Moving towards $10,000 per coin. Now, this is moving faster than analysts and algorithms can keep track of it. It took 7 days for this digital currency to go from 8,000 to 9,000, and the weekend to go from 9,000 to 9,600. Coinbase, the largest Bitcoin exchange in the U.S., added 100,000 accounts just last week. All of these stats are unprecedented, and they're all from the last 7 days. In January, Bitcoin was at about $1,000 per coin. It went on to hit 8 different 1,000-point milestones this year alone. We're looking now at a 900% increase. And these stats are just for Bitcoin. All digital currencies are now at all-time highs. Ethereum, Litecoin, they're all climbing. I'm not telling you how to invest your money. In fact, there's a good shot this is a tulip scare where the Dutch were trading in tulips because tulips will always be worth more than a house. Yeah, it could go to zero overnight, literally. But the technology behind digital currencies is changing the way banking is done all over the world. Blockchain. This is technology that is opening up possibilities that were just unavailable literally just a few months ago. People with absolutely no access to a bank can now invest, trade, and spend their money. And they can do it from the comfort of their own personal handheld device. You don't like banks? You don't like bankers? Blockchain and digital currency enables you to be your own bank, whether you live in Manhattan or a village in Liberia. This truly changes the world. This is all brand new technology, and like everything new and startup, it comes with risk. Don't invest anything in this that you're not willing to lose. Treat it like you're going to Vegas, because this could take a serious nosedive to zero at any given moment. But change is occurring. Disruption is happening whether we like it or not. Transportation, going to space, is now privatized with SpaceX. The way we make things, the way we sell things, and now currency, the way we save and the way we spend. The time to prepare for constant change is right now.
It's Monday, November 27th. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
So I would love to hear from anybody who took our advice on Bitcoin and has made money. We have several people here on the floor, our studio crew, that have made some serious cash. How much have you made? What'd you put in? Put in 200?
And it's up to like 420 now.
Double the money in
money in 2 weeks.
It's funny because our investment advice really just comes down to they've been so sick of hearing us talking about it for so long.
I know.
Like they just shut up about it. I bought it. That was basically what it was. And who knows? I mean, again, as you pointed out, who knows if it goes to zero tomorrow, but it's been an amazing ride.
Yeah, it has been.
I mean, 10,000 was incomprehensible when we started this year. Incomprehensible.
This time it's different. No, it's never different. It's never different. I just keep thinking this could fall apart at any moment, and probably will.
It's very possible. But I mean, it's one of those things that we were, kind of this audience was in the middle of. One of those, hey, I wish I bought Apple when it was $1. Hey, I wish I bought Amazon when it was $1. Like, all of these things basically have happened over the past 3 years. If you were a listener to this show, you were part of it. And now, whether you actually pulled the trigger or not back in the day, I mean, when the first time I think we started talking about Bitcoin, it was something like 500. And then it went down to 200 for like 6 months.
Yeah.
It was just available I think we've talked about this one before, when Donald Trump came down the escalator. So this doesn't feel like that long ago. I mean, the beginning of in some ways it does.
A lifetime.
But when Trump announced his campaign and made that speech with the rapists coming across I assume some of them are good people, that whole thing, Bitcoin was like, I don't know, $500, $600. I mean, and now it's 10,000. I mean, there are a lot of people who, and we've told you some of the stories of people who threw a few dollars into it because they thought it was interesting technology several years ago. And I remember, I think I bought some of those Bitcoins and now are worth multiple millions of dollars.
There's one kid that literally he just invested. He bought a bunch because he thought they were cool when they were like 30 cents. It's cool. And forgot about them. He's now a multimillionaire. He was like, wait a minute. I think I have some of those.
Yeah. So it's been a crazy ride, and who knows what's going to happen with it. But it's interesting to kind of go through that as a show, right? As an audience. I mean,
I'd love to hear if you invested in Bitcoin. I'd love to hear at what point you pulled the trigger and how much you've made.
Because so many people, and I remember Pat saying this many, many times on the air, as soon as I get into it, it's going to go to zero.
Yeah.
And I told him, please don't invest in it, because when you invest in it, it will go to zero. But even if he had invested after delaying for 6 months, he would have quadrupled his money.
But see, that's the thing. I don't think we're at that point yet. I mean, when Pat does invest, it will go to zero because Pat is your typical American investor. When everything is way, way super hot, overdone, everybody is talking about it. That's right before a crash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it usually does seem that way.
I think this is going to go to 10,000. This is going to crash to about 8. And then it'll probably go back up again because it's really super hot right now. But, I mean, this thing could go to zero. Zero.
And this is why gambling is fun. Because when you win, it feels fantastic. And then when you lose, you feel like such an idiot.
Such a dope.
And we will give you the full spectrum of this tragic tale probably by like next week when it goes to zero and we're like, wow, we actually had some money in that and it was doing pretty well. And
I bought it at 1,100. I took my own advice. I started giving the advice at 200. I started taking my own advice at 1,100. It's now almost 10,000. And I'm thinking to myself, get out. Get out. What are you doing?
You're also thinking, why didn't you take your own advice when it was 200? That's probably would have been an advisable thing.
We have Gary. Take Gary in Virginia. He invested $300 in early November.
Oh, that's really recent.
Gary.
Mm-hmm.
So how much your 300 worth today?
It's at least 400. 400 now.
Yeah,
it was 7,118 when I purchased it.
And now it's almost 10, so you're up 40%.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice.
And you guys talk, and the weekend before I went up to MGM in Maryland and dropped 1,000. So I figured, why not try
it? Which one's paid off for you?
I saved on gas too.
So now, Gary, are you going to leave it in, or are you going to take it out?
Oh no, I'm going to leave it there. Yeah, I think I'm going to buy some more. It's fun. I've been talking with my friends about it, and they're like, "What is this? What are you talking about?"
I think too that this audience has heard us
blab
rant
about it.
this
Thanks,
for
Gary.
so long that it seems, I think if you listen to the show every day, like everyone, knows what it is. For example, like I think today on TV, you're going to do a little bit of an explainer again.
Yeah, just a basic, not even going to get into blockchain, just the basic, what is it?
Yeah.
What is it? How does it work?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it taking off? And what it could be.
Yeah.
Both the good and the bad.
But,
I mean, if it just had the same kind of year that it has had in 2018 as it did in 2017, it will be worth $100,000 at this time next year. And that's insanity. But at what was it at the beginning of the year? 1,000?
Yeah, basically 1,000. Yeah,
$1,000. If we would have said it'll be worth $10,000 at the end of this year, everybody would have said that's crazy.
and they would have probably been right in every circumstance except this one.
Except this one. And so you're kind of like, well, I know we're already in crazy territory, so I just don't know when the crazy ends. Colin in California. Hello, Colin.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
I was kicking myself because I knew about it when it was like $100.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't do my homework, and then when it jumped from 1,000 to 2,000, I said, okay, I have to do it. I did my homework, found out if I did in 2010 put $1,000 in, I'd be sitting on like $90 million.
I know. Shut up.
So. And I'm 27 years old. Like, I would be sitting somewhere, in the Pacific, like surfing every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I threw like $800 at it. I hustled it with my friends. Like, I was charging 6% on top, and now I've profited like $2,500, dude. Like,
How great is that?
Are you kidding
What was
me?
it? What was it, Colin, that made you pull the trigger? Finally, go. Jeez, I got it. Was it the?
Honestly, like, being like a decentralized currency, non-fiat, like, I have a lot more, I don't know, like idealistic ideologies behind it.
Yes.
And it's like, why not? Like, I don't want to wake up when I'm 40 years old and tell my kids, like, I've got 2 kids. We could be on an island that I own right now, like, what? Dad lost $1,000. Who cares? You know?
Yeah.
That's the great part is you can only lose what you put in.
Thanks, Colin, man. I appreciate it. I feel exactly the same way. Ideologically, I am so aligned with Bitcoin. Ideologically, it is the ultimate disruptor. Think, this is a scary thought. Think of the number of millionaires and billionaires that probably wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Bitcoin. I mean, think of the people that, for instance, WikiLeaks got into it at 30 cents.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if it was that.
We don't even know.
Yeah.
We don't even know how much they put in, but it was around let's say it was $1, or let's be crazy. It was $100 when they got in. It was a lot lower than that.
Yeah, and Julian Assange was forced into Bitcoin because government shut down his funding. So that was the only way he could get any money. And so people, when they would donate, they donated in Bitcoin when it was $1, $10, $20, $50, $100, $200, and now it's worth how much? 50, 100 times more than that. And so, what power is going to these people who accumulated a bunch of these things when they cost nothing? And now they're worth $10,000. Who are those people? Can you imagine who the early adopters were? Either tech geeks or who knows what fringe element that wound up getting in that.
There's 2 people that have wallets that are worth over $1 billion.
Yeah. Well, 2 wallets worth over $1 billion. So that's likely one of them. I think is definitely a mining company. But I'm sure they're probably not individual people. But there are a lot. I mean, in the 9 figures now, there's over 100 in the 9 figure, about 100 in the 9 figures.
That's over $100
million in this stuff. So
who are they? You probably somebody like Peter Thiel.
Yeah, somebody who really knew technology.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of the people would be technology. I think a lot
Horowitz.
of libertarians, right? Libertarians who love the philosophy of this, because the other part of it is not only decentralized banking, but it's also no inflation. There are going to be 21 million of these things, and then they stop making them. They're gone forever. So you can't print them. There's no printing of Bitcoins.
Yeah, but when you say that, I also think of, the Weimar Republic, and this currency isn't worth the paper it's printed on. Yes, but at least there was paper. You were using it as toilet paper, I know. Bitcoin, I don't even have that. I'm still using a stick.
Glenn Beck.
So I want to hear from you because we're probably the most mainstream voice for Bitcoin, would you say? Do you know any other show that's really talked about Bitcoin as much as we have?
Certainly a lot of tech.
Yeah. I mean, mine's mainstream. I don't mean.
And I call this program mainstream feels very odd, but I know what you're saying.
You're right. Yeah,
it's widely listened to. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Wired magazine and every
there's a lot of that.
They're way ahead of us. But for the average Joe, I think this is probably the only place where you're getting Bitcoin news.
And that might be a really good reason for that.
Yes.
But it's interesting to see a lot of people writing in and saying, like Thomas writes, I invested $1,790 on January 26th. I took out my initial investment and have profited roughly $14,500. I can essentially pay my entire next semester of law school tuition if I took it all out. I mean, there's
great.
A lot of these types of stories. I invested June 1st, 2017, and have quadrupled my money. It really is again, like, who knows what's going to happen, but it's incredible to watch.
Let's go to Missouri and Ryan. Ryan.
Glenn, hey, I'm here.
How are you?
I am awesome. Hey, I just want to say it's awesome to talk to you. I've been a fan since you were on Headline News asking people to send pitchforks in. So I'm glad to talk to you.
Thank you. So, Ryan, you invested in Bitcoin how long ago?
Yeah, so I'm an investment advisor. I've been an investment advisor for 8 years, so I keep my eye out for these kind of things. I got back in. I bought in 2013 when it was just below $80.
Oh my.
And I'll admit, at first it was kind of because I saw the price jumping up, but then I saw, I started actually reading and doing a lot of reading about it, and I'm convinced. And so I've been putting a little bit every time I get paid, I put more into it. So yeah, I mean, I've been buying nonstop since 2013, and clearly it's done okay for me. But
yeah, I bet it's gone okay for you. How much? Do you mind telling us how much you've made?
No, I don't like to talk about that because here's the other thing, Glenn. Is this summer, my securities firm wouldn't let us. Bitcoin is a topic that's blacklisted firm-wide, so I couldn't even talk about Bitcoin with clients.
Oh my gosh!
So I decided, okay, well, I quit. And I opened my own Bitcoin asset management company. So that's one of the things I don't talk about. I don't talk about how much I have or how much my clients have. So, yeah,
But would you say that your investment in Bitcoin has put you in a position to where you could quit your job?
Yeah. So that was one of the things that made that decision easier this summer, was that I had plenty of, cushion to follow behind. So. Wow. And I didn't even get in that early. Truly, I've got a friend here in town whose cousins got in, and they did mining when it was less than 50 cents. And I don't know them, but he says that they are now. The two of them are now living off of a 50-foot yacht on the coast of Chile, and they don't even do anything.
Oh my gosh, Ryan! Thanks so much for your phone call. That's incredible. Back in just a second.
Glenn Beck. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
So looking at the average household and what is happening to us right now, serious delinquency rates hit 4.6 on credit card delinquencies. Now, adjusted for inflation, the growth of U.S. credit card spending has outpaced that of incomes for 26 straight months, meaning we're in trouble. We're putting our life on our card, and we're going to pay it off later. We're becoming the federal government. The delinquency for subprime loans originated by auto finance companies hit 9.7% in the 3 months ended in September. This is a pretty high rate. In fact, it's the largest or the highest rate outside of a recession. In 2009, it peaked at 10.9. We're at 9.7, and we're not, quote, in a recession at all. There's a couple of other things that are kind of disturbing. The savings rate now, personal savings rate, is 3.4. The current rate is not only the lowest since 2007, it is the lowest on record since 1900. We're not saving money anymore.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the tax bill in that. So far, I think the economy has priced in success on the tax bill.
Yes.
So one of those things where you sort of buy the news and sell the actual event. You wonder if these things are going to, if the economy, once they see the actual tax plan and it's passed, whether that excitement dies down or, God forbid, it actually fails. Because, I mean, that with all of the negatives that are part of that tax plan, the cut to corporate tax is so significant that I think it really is a real engine for growth. And if that actually happens, these companies are going to have a lot of extra money and probably can hire a lot of extra people and can expand, and all of those things I think are real. I mean, that's a legitimate positive of this, and it's in both of the plans, the Senate and the House plan. There's a lot of differences in them, and whether the Senate can actually come together with the House, and whether there's so many unknowns with that. But I mean, the Senate still has to pass it. They think it could happen in the next couple of weeks. They want to get this bill to Trump's desk by Christmas.
We'll see if they can do it. Have you been reading about Elon Musk and the bankruptcy of Tesla? The possible bankruptcy of Tesla? They're saying he is now spending $8,000 a minute or $480,000 an hour in his car company. And they're losing a massive amount of cash.
You might not, if you're not a business person, you might not know this, but that's suboptimal.
Slightly.
You'd rather not do that.
Well, it's not bad if you're making $25,000 a minute.
No, it's true.
then you're okay. Then you're
totally
okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that's suboptimal. So do you know? Have you been following this? Because these popped up last week. I saw a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, Tesla's always been draining, spending a lot of money and a lot of your money if you're a U.S. taxpayer. There's a lot of cash tax giveaways that go along with the electric cars. We've covered many times on the program. But that's been kind of the charm of Elon Musk, right? If you're a multi-billionaire and you have convert this to your life. His care is, let's say, the environment, right? So he wants to build these crazy electric cars, and that's what he cares about. And he's building cars it's his passion. He builds these cars, and they're, the newest one is 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. That's faster than a Bugatti, which is over $3 million. And they're going to do this supposedly for $200,000. So if that's your passion. If your passion is, sports, or your passion is, boats, imagine what you could do if you didn't care about losing money. If you were building a company that was going after this new technology and all these exciting things that were exciting to you, and you didn't care about losing a few $100 million in the process.
At some point, you do care.
At some point, you care. And that's why, you have it structured in a way that you can just go bankrupt, I guess, and continue to restructure. They think that could happen within the next couple of years. And it's, look, he's going against the grain, which is, again, part of the reason why I think it's kind of a cool story, in that there's no sensible reason to build an electric car company other than you just kind of feel like it and you have a passion for whatever it is, whether it's the environment or with Tesla is the performance of the car. I mean, it's incredible.
And with me, it's the technology.
It's just cool, right? Yeah. But I mean, you wouldn't do that because there's not the infrastructure to support it. So he's also building the infrastructure, and he's also building all of these other things. And it's not surprising he's going to lose money. I think that's part of the equation with the guy. He knows he's going to lose money, which, with the amount of money he already had, he has that cushion to do so. But if he goes, if we're talking about real bankruptcy, I mean, there'll be a little the charm will go away, I think.
So we have spent a lot of time talking about money since we went on the air today. How was your Thanksgiving?
I mean, thank you for asking. It was nice. I mean, I had a tofurkey roast, which I think most people probably did. I mean, I would assume that was kind of a common thing around the country.
That just sounds horrendously bad.
You should have seen the picture of it. I posted a picture on Twitter at World of Stew. You can see it because it comes in this sort of like, I would say like greenish blue wrapping.
Oh my gosh.
It was not appetizing out of the box, I'll tell you that. After cooking it, it was okay. It wasn't as good as
Ours was so good.
As the holiday classic Worthington's protein loaf that I usually have. And now the Worthington's is a much higher quality product, in my opinion. No offense to the tofurkey people. I'm sure they're fine. But the Worthington's protein loaf, that's top of the line. I mean, if you've got a Seventh-day Adventist church near you and they've got a little store, go pick up a Worthington's protein loaf.
I'm just looking at that. I mean, how could you possibly eat that?
Oh, you're seeing the tofurkey thing.
Oh, my gosh.
That was...
No.
It does look sort of bluish-gray.
I'm going to post our turkey.
Now, did it look like mine?
Yeah, look. Mine looked just like yours.
Did it come in the bluish-gray wrapping?
No. Well, I didn't see it at that point. But I don't think it did. Ours just looked like that.
Yeah, yours is it's a different way to go. I would say
just looks yummy.
It does look like more of a classic look.
Yeah,
there's almost no bluish gray in it.
No.
It looks very nicely seasoned.
So now we've got. So look at what we've just done. Are we not typical Americans? Because the next thing we have to do is talk politics. We just talked money, and then we talked food.
Yes.
How was your holiday?
Well, I was listening to the Christmas music that came on, and
how was your family?
What?
How was your family?
Oh, were they there? Yeah, they were there. No, yeah, they were great. Actually, that was of course the highlight. Of course, the audience doesn't know any of these people, so I didn't spend too much time thinking about how to explain to them how they were.
Right. Any of them bluish, green, or gray when they saw the turkey?
they ate that thing I made, and they're still alive, which is kind of interesting.
That sounds yummy.
Or at least they told me they ate it.
We had, we let me start here. Did you hear about David Cassidy? David Cassidy died.
Yeah.
David Cassidy was in the Partridge Family. He was 67 years old, which is not old. 67 years old. He's had a rough go of it the last few years. He went through bankruptcy. I think he got 3 or 4 DUIs. His life kind of went off the rails.
And he was a big like teen
idol.
Star.
Oh, he was huge
back in the day.
Yeah, huge
was he
back in the day.
In a group, or was he
Partridge
Family? Right.
Yeah,
that's right.
He was in the Partridge Family, and he was huge. He was able to milk that for a long time, and then his life towards the end fell apart. The reason why I bring him up is I had a great time with my family. For the first time in my life, I didn't check my email. I didn't answer my phone. I didn't check the news. Nothing for a week. And I had the best time with my children and my grandchildren. Had just the best. If you didn't do that, let me leave you with David Cassidy's last words. His daughter just posted, "Words can't express the solace our family received from all the love and support during this trying time. My father's last words will be a daily reminder for me to share my gratitude with those that I love and to never waste another minute. Thanks." David Cassidy's final words. So much wasted time.
Glenn Beck.
Waiting for the announcement of the Nazarene Fund We've been calling it internally Nazarene 2.0. As you may know, the Nazarene Fund, started by this program and funded by you, was to save the persecuted Christians in the Middle East. And we just, do you remember what if we could save like 20 families, what was the beginning hope and dream? It was less than 100. If we could just save 100 families, it would be fantastic. We ended up protecting and relocating 6,000 persecuted Christians in Yazidis. And then, let's see here. We resettled 5,462 people. And then we evacuated and moved out of the country 7,602 people. That's not counting all of the other stuff that the Nazarene Fund did. Well, we wanted to get serious about helping the Christians and Yazidis.
That wasn't serious. 6,000 families
Well,
wasn't.
when we did that, we thought, that's really serious. And then we thought, we probably have 18 to 24 months before you're just not going to get back in there. And I think our people on the ground tell us that it's becoming wildly unstable, and the Christians that are being held in 18 to 24 months, you're not going to get them out. You're just not going to get them out. And so we're going to announce something today, and we're going to need your help to pull something off that I don't know if anybody's ever done it, but nobody's ever done what this audience did last time. But we would like to get serious about the problem with slavery in the Middle East, and we'll announce that coming up in just a few minutes, so stand by for that. Did you do any shopping this weekend?
I did not. I know the Black Friday thing was big. I feel like now
I don't want to have to shiv people.
Yeah, I'd rather just like keep the violence out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily, you can do that on the internet, and then the people just bring stuff to your house. It's amazing. It's a miracle. You just click on things, and all of a sudden they show up at your house. I don't know how it happens. I don't care how it happens.
So we went to Walmart. We did some shopping. We were up at Walmart, and there were all these toys and things that were in the aisle, and can't buy them until Friday. It could have been a gold-plated, Porsche for $100. I'm not coming in on Friday. I'm just not coming in on Friday morning.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's really not smart.
That was a big family tradition for us. Like for a million years, my grandma, my aunt would go out. It's like 6 in the morning on Black Friday and go do that. I mean, I know obviously it still happens. Big records have been, there's a lot of money being spent on Black Friday, and Cyber Monday is a huge thing today. Yeah. But man, I just don't care enough. You know what? Family members that I'd be purchasing stuff for don't care enough.
Don't care.
You know what? When you care like me, you care enough to pay the higher price.
Did you see that one of the must-haves set a record for Black Friday? Gun sales. 203,086 background check requests on Friday.
That's interesting because I honestly put a lot of those new records. They had set records for several years on the idea that people were worried Obama would target a specific gun, ban them, take them away, make them more difficult to purchase. But I mean, there's no real worry of that right now. I don't think.
I think
nationally.
It's the same thing with Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin started to be like, I could get rich, but before that, it was people going, I don't trust the system. And I think that's the same thing. I don't think people trust the system. They see the direction the world is going, the direction the country is going, and they're like, you know what? A gun wouldn't be a bad thing.
I know that. Well, now it's all the left, right? Like Sarah Silverman's on TV saying she's turned into a prepper.
Sarah Silverman with a gun. Yes. Protected by the Second Amendment. Yes.
Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck.
What matters more, power or principles? Kind of a conversation we've been having for a long time. It's easy to say principles when you're not in power. But for those who are in power, or those who are close to getting into power, how many can actually say, backed up by their actions, that principles come first? Is it better to have power in order to accomplish something really important, even a good for the country, even if it means violating some principles along the way? This is a conversation that we should actually have, a real serious conversation in our country. A lot of Republicans and Democrats would say, yeah, it is. A year after the presidential election, this continues to be a disturbing trend in America, the win at all costs attitude. We're leaking principles left and right and trying to play king of the mountain. We now have an 88-year-old Democrat from Michigan, John Conyers, longest-serving member of Congress, who gets to secretly settle a sexual harassment complaint with taxpayer money. And the worst consequence he may face is stepping down from the House Judiciary Committee, which he did yesterday. A second woman has also accused him of sexual harassment. Now, a couple of Democrats have called for him to resign from Congress, but so far, Conyers says he won't. In fact, he plans to fight the sexual harassment allegations against him and regain his spot on the Judiciary Committee. Why? Because of winning. Power. It's more important than principles. Then we have the House Minority Leader, Nancy Pelosi, on Meet the Press yesterday, awkwardly defending Conyers because he's an icon. I'm not sure being an icon is the best defense to use here, but okay. She also said that Conyers deserves due process. Wow. Now, that's the first time I've heard anyone call for due process in the last 6 months. Due process. Yes, that's true. It's vital. But I'm just trying to figure out why due process is appropriate with Conyers, while accusers in other cases seem to be taken at their word. See, we are no longer a country of principles or laws. We are a country of men. And depending on the man, depends on which law is going to be applied to you. Pelosi went on to say that you can't equate Al Franken and Roy Moore sexual harassment allegations. Why is she defending Conyers and Franken? Because power matters more than principles. What matters most? This is the question I've been focusing on in my own personal life a lot lately. What matters most? Our principles certainly matter because they are the bedrock that our free society is built on. And when that bedrock of principles fractures, the entire thing will crumble. And we are now seeing the effects of those early fractures right now.
It's Monday, November 27th. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
So what matters most? Last week, I took a vacation with the kids, and we went up to the mountains, and we got our own Christmas tree, and we cut it down at I think it's the Adams Tree Farm. It's just this family that started their own tree farm about 10 years ago because they wanted to do something with their kids. So they started a tree farm. I realized over the weekend that trees, especially the blue spruce, those are like razor blades. Those trees can't defend themselves. I kind of appreciated the artificial tree that we had been going with all these years as we went out to go cut our own tree down. But then just sawing it off with my son and my daughters was great. Building the memories. What matters most? Really, not a lot. Not a lot. Eternal things. if you're not doing something, or let me put it this way, if you are doing something and it doesn't have some sort of an eternal consequence, why are you doing it? Why are any of us doing it? Before I left on vacation, we had a fundraiser for Mercury One, and we announced something at the fundraiser that I am so thrilled to be able to announce today. In 2015, I asked you to stand with me and say, never again is now, and help those Christians that were persecuted and other religious minorities that were persecuted in the Middle East, who had been displaced and terrorized by ISIS. Your gifts, there were no corporate checks that came in. There's no big sponsor of this. This is all coming in $10 and $20 and $30 checks. We raised over $18 million. And with that $18 million, here's what we accomplished. We provided emergency humanitarian aid to the Christians and displaced persons in Syria and in Iraq. 35,000 people were served. We resettled 5,462 people from 4 Christian and Yazidi refugee camps and placed them in safe and dignified homes. We evacuated 7,602 Christians and Yazidi refugees. These people were marked for death. We got them out of the country. 7,602. We funded 117 projects ranging from rebuilding churches and schools to building medical clinics. And in the last year, we have sponsored the rescue of Christian and Yazidi women and children that had been captured and enslaved by ISIS and reunited them with their families. We have done that with 100 slaves. This has come at a cost of $18 million, but it also has come in the form a higher cost of 2 lives. 2 people that were on our rescue crew gave their life to save a mother and a daughter. They got them out, went back, thought they could get more, were captured and killed. The situation in the Middle East has changed a great deal. And we sat and looked at each other and thought, okay, we've accomplished an awful lot. Is there more that we can do? In talking to our sources on the ground in the Middle East, the next 18 to 24 months are really critical. By the 18 months, things are really going to change there, we think, and not for the better. There are currently 6,000 slaves, women and children, Christians, Yazidis, that are subhuman. They were brought into slavery by ISIS, and even though ISIS now has been wiped out, the effects of ISIS remain. They have set up a slave trade, and it's worse than that. They have also gone into organ selling. I can't give you the details because it will reveal sources and could reveal potential targets, but they are now capturing children, Christian children, and harvesting them for organs. I've seen this with my own eyes. It is horrific what is happening, and the world is not paying attention. We've decided to recommit ourselves. We would we would like to ask for your help. The Nazarene Fund has appointed a new CEO. His name is Tim Ballard. He is the CEO and operations specialist for Operation Underground Railroad. And Tim and I have been talking for a long time about combining our efforts because there are more Christians in northern Africa. We are just scratching the surface in the Middle East. You know, I know you can do a hashtag, you know, give us our children back. But we would like to send people in and actually get those children back. So we have a goal. We would like to raise $25 million in the next 12 months. $25 million is an awful lot of money, but it can do an awful lot of good if you will help us. We want to continue to liberate the captive and free the enslaved, and to rescue and rebuild and restore the lives of Christians and other persecuted religious and ethnic minorities whenever and wherever they're in need. We're not going to go for just a single conflict anymore. We would like you to help us rescue the slaves that are currently in the Middle East and break up the slave trade. We would like to, in the first year, for $25 million, we are going to relocate another 6,000 Christians and Yazidis. We will rebuild 250 homes. We will rescue 400 women and children kidnapped by ISIS and make a serious dent in the illegal trafficking and preserve the Christian community there in the Middle East. More than 400 victims have been identified, and they are currently held against their will. Many of them are sex slaves. Rescue operations are very risky. They have to be executed, planned out, and executed quickly. We believe that we can physically pull out of slavery 2,500 children, 400 kidnapped women and slaves. We would like to set a goal for ourselves of completing 160 rescue operations in 2018. That is almost one rescue operation every other day. These, again, are dangerous, but they are life-changing. We would like you to go to thenazarenefund.org if you would like to be an abolitionist and you would like to help the persecuted Christians and other religious minorities and help us free them and free the sex slave all around the world. That is in the Middle East, breaking up the slavery. That is in northern Africa, breaking up the Christian slavery, freeing them, and freeing those captives all around the world. Go to thenazarenefund.org and join us, thenazarenefund.org.
At theNazarene.fund.org, you can find the place to donate. And by the way, you're talking about, you're talking about tens of millions of dollars and thousands of families. These numbers are really big. I mean, that's a couple $1,000s per person saved. It's really not. It seems like so much money, but when you're talking about thousands of people, it adds up really fast. But for a couple $1,000s, I mean, to fly to these areas would probably cost a couple $1,000s. So, I mean, it actually, it's a pretty efficient process for what it is.
We have some unbelievable people that are on the ground over there that are risking their lives. Every single day they're risking their lives. And they come and they tell us the stories of of what these people are going through and what it takes to rescue them. And it doesn't take a lot of money. It takes a lot of bravery, but it doesn't take a lot of money. And this audience can do it. So join us at theNazareneFund.org.
Glenn Beck.
So glad that you have joined us today. By the way, the NazareneFund.org has we've crashed the site, so please continue to go there. You can also go to mercury1.org if the NazareneFund.org is not available to you right now. You can also go to mercury1.org and just look for the Nazarene Fund. You can donate there. But we have quite a goal that we've set out, and we did this. We wanted to raise, I think it was $1 million. We wanted to raise $1 million, and we ended up raising $18 million, and we barely even mentioned it because you did all of the work. You told your churches, and you told your schools and your friends, and people were making $10, $20, $30 donations, and look at the good that you have done. This is a much more aggressive situation. At the time, I think we were saying that it was $25,000 per person getting them out. As Stu just pointed out, we're down to now $2,000. Rescuing all these people is down to about $2,000. And we could really, really use your help. So go to the NazareneFund.org or mercury1.org and look for the Nazarene Fund and join us today. So we have to talk a little bit about Al Franken and Nancy Pelosi, and could we just play Al Franken's the easiest question to answer of all time? He can't seem to answer it. Here it is.
Are they mistaken that their butt was grabbed? Is that what you're saying?
I am not saying that. I don't remember these. As I said, I take thousands of photos, so I don't remember.
Stop for a second. I've taken thousands of photos myself. I can unequivocally say I have never grabbed a woman's butt.
Well, you can't say it unequivocally.
Yes, I can.
What you're saying, what Glenn is saying,
time,
just to be clear, what Glenn is saying is he can't specifically remember grabbing your butt.
Right.
But
no, I'm saying I can't remember grabbing anyone's butt.
Now you're opening yourself up to
maybe
accusations.
My wife's butt.
Oh, now we find one.
Right.
Oh, how many wives have you had, Mr. Beck? Oh, 2.
Yeah.
So now we're up to 2 already.
First it was 0.
Now
then it was 2.
The infinity inflation on these claims.
But I can pretty much say that. How many butts have you grabbed in picture taking?
No more than 3,000.
Now, have you ever had your hand on a woman's butt?
No. This is what's so crazy about this. Like, why would you? You're taking a photo with someone.
Yeah.
It's actually on film. Like, this is like the worst moment to
I will
grab
tell you
a butt.
that I have had pictures taken. This is going to gross you out, but I have had pictures taken where people were grabbing my butt. Women, I think.
Well, I mean, look, first of all, we're not going to judge whether it's a woman or man who grabbed your butt.
There's no judgment there.
No judgment. But, I mean, you're pretty irresistible, I have to say.
I mean, look at that. There's a lot to grab.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Welcome to the program. So glad that you're here. The nonsense in Washington with John Conyers and Al Franken is amazing to me. Here's Al Franken yesterday talking about, how he never really intentionally grabbed anybody's butt.
Doesn't say that. You're putting those words into his mouth. He does not say he never intentionally did it.
Listen, here he is.
Are they mistaken that their butt was grabbed? Is that what you're saying?
I am not saying that.
I
don't remember these. As I said, I take thousands of photos, so I don't remember these particular photos.
I think with all due respect, I think people are going to look at this and find it hard to believe that someone such as yourself wouldn't know that they were grabbing somebody's butt.
I can understand how people would feel that way.
But have you ever placed a hand on some woman's butt?
You know, I can't
say... Stop. Okay, that's different. That's different. There's a subtle difference. If you say, could you ever recall? Well, no, but I mean, I have, in pictures, and I immediately remove it. It's like, sorry. You know, you do that.
Mistakenly, right.
So, have you ever put your hand on somebody's butt? I don't know, probably. But there's a difference between that and intentionally going down for a handful.
Well, I think there is. And he's trying to... I think he's trying to give the impression of what you said.
Yes.
Never intentionally did it.
Yes.
However, that's not what he said.
That isn't what he said. You're right.
But have you ever placed a hand on some woman's butt?
You know, I can't say that hasn't happened. I take thousands and thousands of pictures. Sometimes in crowded and chaotic situations. I can't say I haven't done that.
I mean, he's not
saying it.
Right. He's kind of just giving you, he's hoping that's what you're going to think, but he's not actually saying it. I mean, who knows? It's tough to... He has a...
So do we even know now what sexual harassment means?
I don't think so. I will say I do not think so. And there's some crazy, I don't know, I think they're crazy polls that kind of back this situation up. Should we talk about millennials here for a moment? 18 to 30-year-olds. What do they consider sexual harassment? What is sexual harassment to someone between 18 and 30 today? Okay, so the first question is, and this is how they frame it. Would you consider it sexual harassment if a man who was not a romantic partner did the following to a woman? Okay. The first one is asking to go out for a drink.
No, that's not sexual harassment.
Right? I think, I don't know. To me, that seems blatantly clear. That is not sexual harassment.
Correct.
25% of millennials believe a guy asking a woman out for a drink is sexual harassment.
That's insane.
Now,
that's insane. How are you going to ever...
Right. Listen again, the wording. Would you consider it sexual harassment if a man who was not a romantic partner did the following to a woman? How would a man become a romantic partner without asking the woman out for a date? Right? Like, at some point, they have to go on a first date. How does this occur if it's sexual harassment? Okay. And it starts to escalate from here. Commenting on attractiveness. Okay. Now, again, it doesn't say, this has nothing to do with in the work environment, does not talk about the work environment, does not say that it is your superior, right? It's just a man who is not your partner.
It's not like, hey, beautiful.
Right. Okay. Is that sexual harassment? Just saying you look beautiful, right? Commenting on attractiveness. About 40% of millennials believe that's sexual harassment. Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Oh, my gosh.
The next one, and this is, of course, it was a YouGov poll, but printed in The Economist. They call it wolf whistling, which I guess is like, hey, sexy, like that sort of whistle. So millennials, men and women are a little different on this. About half of men say it's sexual harassment, and almost 70% of women say it's sexual.
I think that's
whistling at a woman.
No, yeah, I think that is. Now, hang on.
Not a good practice?
No, it's not a good practice. You're probably right. It's not sexual harassment, but it is. I mean, it's wolf whistling. It's piggish.
It's piggish. That's a great word for it.
It's piggish.
It's a great piggish. Yes. I think is fair. Yeah. Is it sexual harassment? Is it the type of thing that gets you fired or derails your political career later on, or like right? If the accusation against Al Franken was he whistled at a woman in 1985. Would anyone?
Okay, so
probably not. Right.
So wait, but if it's, I mean, the only guys that are like, hey, baby, woohoo, I don't think that stops there.
But again, it stops there in the poll. Right?
Yeah,
the poll says it's just whistling. In fact, it doesn't even say, hey, baby, it's just the whistling.
Yeah.
Just the whistling.
Okay.
75% of women, 50% of men, millennials, that say that's sexual harassment.
If you were alone on the street, if it was my daughter and she was walking on the street and she was whistled at, I would imagine that she would feel uncomfortable and unsafe. If it's a bunch of construction guys and she's alone.
And I think that's a line that's changing, right? In that there used to be, I think, in every movie there was that joke where the construction workers would be sitting there,
Diet Coke,
right? Yeah. I mean, it was a very common thing.
Still is if it's reversed.
Yeah,
if it's a woman watching a construction worker, it's still okay.
Oh yeah, we were in the Glenn and I were watching a video for something that you're doing in the next couple of months for one of the networks, and they were showing us an example of their previous year's year in review show, and they showed a clip of the Olympics where I don't remember. I hate the Olympics at this point, so I didn't watch it. But they were showing the opening ceremonies, and apparently the guy from Tonga or something walked out shirtless and was like really hot, really. And all of these women on the show, on network television, were salivating over this guy like he was a piece of meat.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, what I would do to that guy. Like, it was absolutely way worse
network
than wolf
television.
whistling.
Yeah.
Network television. It was these are the pick. Again, it wasn't live. These are the clips of the commentators the network chose to air, right? Was just a bunch of women gawking at this guy. That is part. It is absolutely part of our society. Sexual attraction is a big thing, right? And it has happened for a long time. This idea. To me, I think over history, there's been a line between what people would consider sexual harassment and what is just like, oh, what a dirtbag, or you shouldn't do that. That's frowned upon. Right now, all of that I think as being. I mean, asking for a drink, I didn't even think was in that category. But this is apparently now all sexual harassment.
Okay, so hang on just a second. Think of this. Now, I read 3 novels last week, so I'm kind of in this, crazy conspiratorial world. But just think of this. If you believe that humans do so much damage to the planet, and, the best thing we can do is not have children, and, the best way to really to take care of all this is to really genetically enhance everybody. We'll just make the children in a test tube and implant it in you. This is the perfect scenario to get us all there. Because if you have a virtual sex machine, why would you want to go through it any other way? You know what I mean? Everybody can you want a safe sex? There it is in the virtual world. It's completely safe.
Completely safe. You don't have, you won't have no one will claim sexual harassment.
Nothing.
Although with your AI predictions, maybe they will.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they will.
They probably will.
By 2015, they'll start screaming rape.
Westworld, right? I mean, that's kind of what
it will happen
in the documentary Westworld. By the way, you should consider before you go on a vacation there with your family. By the way, you should really watch that because that is not a family safe playground.
It's not a real place.
So far we're at very. We're going to cross lines now. We're going to start getting into a little bit more aggressive behavior. Looking at breasts. Is looking at breasts, if a man looks at breasts of a woman who is not his romantic partner, is that sexual harassment to the woman?
Wait. Can you give me an example?
I can't look. I don't want to look at your breasts if that's what you're asking.
I mean, give me an example.
Right.
I mean,
and that's the thing. There are lines on, I think, all of these things where they are harassment. Or even asking for a drink. If you ask the same person for a drink over and over and over and over and over again, or you ask there's probably a way you can ask for a drink that winds up being sexual harassment.
But also, I mean, if you don't want somebody to, and I'm not saying ogle you. I'm not saying ogle you. I'm saying, but notice the package there. If you're wearing...
You sound like Al Franken.
I know. If you're wearing something that is very revealing, it is natural for your eyes to be drawn there. Your whole outfit is literally designed to make your eyes go there.
I mean, fashion, right, is
That's what I'm talking
many
about.
times designed to show off one's attractiveness, right?
Correct.
So that's not.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, ogling is different, but if you walk in and you're in a low cut dress and somebody like looks down like, oh, hello, okay, right, and then moves on, that's natural and normal.
And again, there's lines on all of these things. There's the fact that I know that the female cashier at 7-Eleven has breasts indicates that I looked at them at some point.
Yes.
Right? Like how else would I know? I mean,
right.
I guess I'm just guessing other than that.
Right.
So, but that is different than ogling, right? So there is a
huge
right?
line.
Okay. Next, placing a hand on lower back. Placing a hand on the lower back. Now, the breast was about 50-50 on whether that was sexual harassment. 50-50 for millennials. Placing a hand on lower back. Again, is that sexual harassment? Now, is there a way you could do that it is sexual harassment? Yes, probably.
And again, it depends. I mean, I don't know. It just depends. Think
of your photos, right? I mean, you take thousands of photos. Hand on lower back is pretty common in a celebrity photo. Because where else are you going to, unless you're just sticking it out straight like a scarecrow.
I got to believe millennials are saying that is absolutely sexual harassment.
Yeah, it's over 50% say that's sexual harassment.
Wow.
Now, making sexual jokes, is that sexual harassment? For millennials, they say about 75% say making sexual jokes. Now, look, again, there's a line there, right? But there are, I've worked with many women who've made lots of sexual jokes. That is a very, that is a somewhat common thing when you're around friends, that you would make jokes that sometimes are a little blue, perhaps. I've heard many of them over my lifetime. And so that in a work environment, but again, this isn't specific to a work environment. This is just if you're at a bar, right, and you get a joke that crosses some line for you, is it sexual harassment? And it's amazing that this is coming from the culture that uses Tinder and all of these things. It's such a strange line. One of the most interesting parts of the study, though, I think, because the last one is requesting a sexual favor, in which about 80% of millennials say is sexual harassment. In every other thing I've told you about, there is a decline. Younger people think it is more likely to be sexual harassment if you're younger than when you're older. So, for example, a wolf whistling, 75% of women today, millennials, say it's sexual harassment, but only about 25% of people around 60 years old say that's sexual harassment. The only one where that's reversed is requesting a sexual favor. Older people think that is definitely sexual harassment. Younger people, while it's still about 75%, it's less. It's lower.
Friends with benefits,
right? So it's a really interesting cultural study.
The actual
sexual request of a sexual favor is less likely to be sexual harassment to millennials than older people.
It's almost like the world is upside down.
Glenn Beck.
We made an announcement earlier today, the Nazarene Fund 2.0. We have made a goal of rescuing slaves, anybody in distress or slave, the Christian, Yazidi, religious minorities in the Middle East and around the world, doing a rescue mission every other day in the year of 2018, but we really need your help, and you can donate. $5 makes all the difference in the world. You can donate now at thenazarenefund.org. We have partnered with Operation Underground Railroad to be able to take this to the next level. We're going global, and in the Middle East, we want to do all we can in the Middle East and then move to Northern Africa as well, and we need your help. A goal of $25 million, thenazarenefund.org, thenazarenefund.org.
Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck.
There's a good chance you're a bad parent. And I know it because, well, did you insist that your daughter hug her grandma or grandpa when they came over for Thanksgiving dinner? Bad parent. Did you know that you are teaching your daughter that she owes people physical affection? And she's going to grow up thinking that she owes everyone something, a hug, or maybe even more. First, she's hugging grandma. Then she's on the street selling herself for cash. Now, that could happen. This is the advice from the leaders of the Girl Scouts. They wrote a post over the weekend titled, "Reminder, she doesn't owe anyone a hug, not even at the holidays." They continue, "Have you ever insisted, Uncle just got here, go give him a big hug, or Auntie gave you that nice toy, go give her a kiss?" When you were worried that your child, might not offer the affection on her own, did you ever say those words? If yes, you might want to reconsider the urge to do that in the future. Think of it this way, according to the Girl Scouts. Telling your child that she owes someone a hug, either just because she hasn't seen this person in a while or because they gave her a gift, can set the stage for her questioning whether she owes another person any type of physical affection when they've brought her dinner or done something else seemingly nice for her later in life, end quote. In light of the Hollywood sexual harassment claims, Girl Scouts are trying to get you to start a conversation about consent with your children. Now, it's up to you whether you take that ridiculous advice or not. Every family dynamic is different. And as a parent, it's up to you to decide whether little Tina, or may I say, little Jeffrey, what? Can we teach that to our boys? Go give your uncle or your aunt a kiss. Can we teach that to our boys? Or is it just that women and girls can't be taught? Are they being rude to Uncle Tommy by not saying hello and hugging him? Or your child is uncomfortable for some reason? Maybe there's something else that maybe we should talk about? If you choose to take the Girl Scouts' advice, consider the other side. You're making hugging family members and close friends a taboo act and creating fake hysteria about your child's affection with loved ones. I have my own advice for the Girl Scouts, and it's this. Let the parents decide and stick to what you do best. And by that I mean, look at me. What do you think I mean? Make cookies. Yeah, isn't that ironic?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's Monday, November 27th. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Isn't it ironic that the Girl Scouts are teaching that girls make good cookies?
Yeah. Are they saying their whole life they're being taught the lesson that the only thing they could do with
sell
value
your cookies
is sell
door to
cookies
door.
door to door? And
Wow.
what do cookies mean exactly, Girl Scouts?
Now, as a family who, I grew up in a family of abuse. And, there's something if, no, I don't want to give Grandpa a hug. Okay, there might be something going on there. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think kids generally, again, another standard Hollywood, Christmas movie tradition where the kid comes to see the family and the family member, grandma wants to give him a big kiss and they don't want to do it because they're a little boy or a little girl and they don't want to be hugged by grandma.
Always pinches my cheek.
Exactly. Standard fare, right? Mm. So there is, of course, some sort of resistance at some point, maybe. If you notice it's really affecting them, you may want to ask a couple questions. If it's really intense, I think you pick that up as a parent.
Can you imagine,
right?
as a parent, you're sitting around the Christmas tree and you get a present. Can you imagine not saying, Did you thank your aunt? Did you thank your uncle? Go give them a hug. Can you imagine not saying that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty
standard.
Yeah. I guess the Girl Scouts are saying it shouldn't be standard because your toddler is going to turn into a prostitute.
All I want to hear from the Girl Scouts are, your Thin Mints have arrived. That's all I want to hear.
Well, I would say Samoas, but we now know that, of course, is culturally appropriative.
Yeah.
So
have they stopped that?
I think they still do it in some places. Aren't Samoas two different things? The cookies, I mean. I don't even know how to talk about anything anymore. Because I think they did. Well, there is I don't know if it was actually because it was offensive. Samoas are caramel delights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, they changed the names of a lot of them. Do-si-dos are now peanut butter sandwich. What happened to the fun names? Tagalongs are now peanut butter patties. Thin mints remain thin mints because they're the best.
they're not thin.
What are they? Trefoils? Or called
no idea.
Shortbread now? I don't know. I mean, to me,
those names don't mean anything to me other than thin mints. What happened to the Samoans?
Samoas, I had heard that there was an issue that was culturally appropriative, so they were going to call them like coconut caramel thingies or whatever. It'd go with some really innovative name that described what
coconut
they were.
Caramel thingies. Have a box of those, please.
Yeah, because there's something. It might be something to do with licensing, but they were talking about it as another one of those issues. I don't know if you're allowed to say Samoas. We're a little off topic here. I'm just now thinking and dreaming of Samoa cookies because they're so delicious.
Wouldn't it be Samoans anyway? I mean,
right? If it was, they were Samoas.
Is it the Samoa Islands or the Samoan Islands?
I don't. We're really off topic.
Well,
we're talking about children turning into prostitutes for hugging their uncles. Why are we going to cookies?
I don't know. I don't know how we got there, and I don't know how we got to this place in our country. I mean, listen to Nancy Pelosi. This is yesterday. Nancy Pelosi having to stand up for John Conyers.
You said there's now a zero tolerance.
Yes.
John Conyers, what does that mean for him now?
Let's say
in or out?
We are strengthened by due process. Mm-hmm. Just because someone is accused, and was it one accusation? Is it two? I think there has to be. John Conyers is an icon in our country. He's done a great deal to protect women, Violence Against Women Act, which the right wing is now quoting me as praising him for his work on that, and he did great work on that. But the fact is, as John reviews his case, which he knows, which I don't, I believe he will do. I believe that he will. Excuse me, may I finish my sentence? Sure. That he will do the right thing.
And is the right thing what? Resign?
He will do the right thing in terms of what he knows about his situation.
What does that even mean?
Apparently, it means that he's going to step down from
the Judiciary Committee. Yeah, but he's planning on stepping right back in. They're just waiting for this to blow over.
Temporary, right?
I mean, this is insane.
And look, I think...
I think, actually, let me rephrase this. I think Nancy Pelosi has said one of the first sane things I've ever heard her say.
Really?
Due process. Due process is important.
It just doesn't apply to people she doesn't like.
Right. It doesn't apply to anyone except these two.
And it's not even due process that she wants. She wants an excuse for people that she likes. Again,
yes.
It's an icon.
Yes.
He's an icon in this world.
He's done a lot.
He's done a lot. If he's done a lot, then you leave him alone.
Harvey Weinstein had done a lot for the cause.
Al Franken.
He's done a lot.
Done a lot for women. A bunch of women came out and wrote a statement saying, hey, Al did a lot. He's done a lot for women, and we like him. So, therefore, I guess whatever he's done should go away. Again, I think it's completely defensible position to say, if you're John Conyers, I didn't do these things. Should John Conyers step down? I think most conservatives would say absolutely he should step down because he's a terrible human being. He's apparently settled these things. And I think he's had a lot of problems, a lot of corruption problems. And my guess probably is guilty of these things. However, if he's saying he didn't do them, why should he step down? If you can show that he's done them, well, then you can make a case.
But that's not acceptable anywhere else.
But why? The question is, do we change? Because I don't think it's acceptable anywhere for someone to be accused of something and have to step down from their job. I don't think that's right.
I agree.
I don't think it's right. If you have just because there's been an accusation, and again, there's a lot more on Al Franken, including a photo. There's a lot more on John Conyers, who settled a case. Roy Moore hasn't done either of those two things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's only accusations from people who, and we have no actual additional evidence other than their word, which is, there is a decent amount of that, and a lot of it's convincing, but still, it's not as much as Conyers if he's settled cases. It's not as much as Franken, who's basically admitted that he's done this. But again, number one, these settlements are a lot of times for a reason. Does it necessarily mean that he did this? Absolutely not. Settlements happen all the time where you're not admitting guilt. That happens all the time. In fact, there's a story in the New York Times about this, and what they're trying to do now is make all these things public. Understandable from a taxpayer perspective. We paid for all of them. We paid for these settlements. And these guys are out there doing whatever they're doing in Washington, and they're taking our cash, and they're paying off these women to remain silent, so we never hear about it. Totally understandable reaction for the taxpayers once we find out about this to demand that information. However, on the other side, they have a quote in the New York Times story from Deborah Katz, a lawyer who represents the victims of sexual harassment. And she says, for a number of my clients, that's the last thing in the world they would want. And they could have life-altering consequences. They settled their cases to be able to move on with their lives while protecting their privacy. The reason why these settlements
exist... You want to become
exist,
Monica Lewinsky?
Right. The reason why these settlements exist is because if they wanted it to be public, they would have accused them publicly. They settled with them because they believed at the time that was the best thing for them. And now you're going to take that power away from these women, and you're going to try to expose all these people. Now, I guess you could try to thread the needle there and say, okay, here's the names of the people in Congress who were accused and paid settlements, but we're not going to tell you the other side of it. But you know the internet, you know journalists. For all of the Republicans that were accused, they're going to go find all of the people who are, all of the accusers for the Republicans for sure. The journalists will take care of that one. And the alt-right will probably dox every, and figure out every woman who accused a Democrat. And we'll have these people who intentionally, who went through a traumatic experience and settled because they thought it was best for their lives, are going to have their lives dragged through this again. And it's not something that they want.
Well, it's also, you're looking at it from the victim's point of view, but what if the victim is, I've settled a case. I settled a case.
Yeah, there's been several cases.
That I'm absolutely right on.
It's not a sexually harassed
No, not
case,
a sexual harassment.
Just in case.
Yeah, no. One of them was a freedom of speech case.
Yeah.
I'm clear as to where that should be. We settled the case.
That doesn't mean that you're guilty.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
In fact, on that one, we wrote in that we have the right to talk about and release all the transcripts and everything else, so we could, because I didn't want it to look like, I was trying to cover something up. However, if you are settling a case where you're like, this did not happen. This did not happen, but they got you because the press and everything else, just settle the case, make it go away. Wait a minute. If you're the victim and you settled the case, you don't get any protection either. Yeah. That was part of the deal. The victim on either side sometimes doesn't want this to be exposed.
Glenn Beck.
The latest on Donald Trump and the Russian scandal is that Flynn has cut off all conversations between him and the Trump attorneys, which seems to indicate he's made a deal with the prosecution. And apparently the deal is that he'd have immunity if he offered something of significance that would lead to charges being filed. So it has to be somebody bigger than Flynn, and that would be who?
Yeah, very few people, right? He was one of the biggest guys there. They were talking about one of the ways they supposedly are getting him to turn is they're looking at charges on a son. So he was pretty loyal to Trump, but now that they're going after Michael Flynn Jr., who, if you remember, is one of the guys that really he's been in trouble a lot for his tweeting of various conspiracy theories and things like that. Whatever they think they have on him, they might go after him, which, so daddy is saying, okay, well, let me give you what I have. And now he's not working along with the Trump lawyers anymore. That being said, this is all still at a speculative stage. We don't know that he's doing that. It's just what people believe.
Well, I stopped reading a book. I read. I read. Have you ever heard of the author A.G. Riddle?
No.
So I read a series of books. I read his book Pandemic, and then Genome, and
novels.
Yeah, and then the Atlantis Gene. I fell in love with his premise, and it's kind of technology and evolution. And
yeah, what you really need is some dark technology stuff, because you just don't go down that road naturally. So you need a little push.
No, he played it. No, he was pushing all my buttons. I mean, I was awake till 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I read 3 novels in a week. But I also read about half of the book Collusion by Luke Harding. And I stopped because I thought, I need Stu to read this, because I need you to really, I want to get your perspective before I go down this road, because this was written by a guy who was, I think he was the Asian and Russian desk at The Guardian, and has some really credible sources. And he's put a new spin on the whole Russian interference and the role that Flynn and others played knowingly. Some pretty dark stuff there. And before I go down this road anymore, I want to go down with some friends here looking for red flags on this. We have to really vet it really well, because it's a pretty compelling book.
It seems like one of the charges here, just scanning here, is that they actually think that Russia helped Trump win, which I just dismiss out of hand.
No,
I don't know.
Okay, so no, I think that's hyperbole. They agree, at least this is the impression I have in the parts that I've read, that they just want chaos. They just want, if Russia wins, they just want chaos. So they're doing everything they can to create chaos and to create a distrust of the system by Americans. Okay, so they win either way, but they make a pretty compelling case on how long they've been trying to get to Donald Trump, and they did get to the people all around him. And I haven't gotten much further into it than that, because there's just so much that I need to check all the footnotes on and make sure that it's not some hack job on this.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's. If nothing else, you want to know what the charges are, what's going to be brought up. I
think this is the worst that anybody has written so far. This is what they're looking for, and this book claims to have a lot of the stuff. And if you really, I don't want to get into a situation to where I'm arguing something and I haven't read the other side. You know what I mean? If the charges are there, we need to know it. It's kind of like when Al Gore's movie came out, and I went to that, and Stu was like, "Oh no, this could be really bad," because I left there saying to Stu, "I want to investigate, turn over every stone." He makes a compelling case if you don't know the facts. So let's turn over every stone, and you should do that with this book called Collusion. Turn over every stone, but we need to know the argument, because it's pretty damning.
Glenn Beck. You're listening to the Glenn Beck Program.
Welcome to the program. Glad you're here. We announced earlier today a new mission for the Nazarene Fund. We're taking it global. We have partnered with OUR, Operation Underground Railroad, and they're going to continue to do their missions. And the Nazarene Fund is going to get a little more serious on the search and rescue, if you will. There are there were about 6,000 slaves, ISIS-made slaves, and they are Christian and Yazidi women and children mainly. And we would like to raise $25 million, and we are going to. Our goal is to have an operation to free at least one of them every other day in 2018. So we're going to be quite busy, but we can't do it without your help. So if you would like to donate to the Nazarene Fund, you can do that, the NazareneFund.org, saving and freeing the captives and the slaves, not only now in Syria and Iraq, but also soon in northern Africa and all around the world.
Pat Gray has joined us, Pat, and I'm thinking just of ways that you could maybe help raise the $25 million. I had one, was maybe for several months promote a giant rodent race, and then not show up to it when it happens.
Yeah.
Something like that would be an interesting thing. Like maybe if you forced several shows on your network to talk constantly about,
You're going to feel so bad when you hear this. Go ahead.
About a stupid race with armadillos.
Yeah.
And then when the armadillo race happens, where would you go? Like maybe somewhere else, probably.
Somewhere else. You're on vacation now.
Yeah,
and you take off early and go to vacation.
Yeah, probably take a flight somewhere long, far away.
Right. To the mountains, if you will.
The way he's patiently waiting here is not good, because he's probably got something good.
Or you could be called off stage to sit with a woman who just lost her son and her husband and wanted to donate a large amount of money in their name. And so
you could, but that you didn't.
Right. If that's what'll help you sleep at night.
And that was amazing. Jeffy and I were both noticing that here we are, a bunch of more losers.
I will tell you, somebody came in, because I was backstage with this really sweet woman from Florida, and so somebody comes in, and it was very, it was tender,
Sure.
And somebody comes in, Glenn, you have to be there for the armadillo. And I just looked up like, not now. No armadillo race now, not now.
Yeah.
So
I was so skeeved out by those icky animals, I couldn't even.
I actually liked them. I thought they were kind of cool.
They are
nasty.
Creepy.
That shell is not even hard. I thought it was hard.
You touched it? I wouldn't touch the thing.
It's like soft.
You wouldn't touch it?
No.
First of all, I tried not to, but I could tell it was soft. Because I didn't want leprosy.
It was hairy, too. It was soft and hairy.
Yeah, it was weird.
And they were lying to us by telling us that blowing in their ear made them go fast. No. Or blow on their tails. It was just a scam to get us to look stupid, and it worked.
And you guys did it.
And we did.
Yeah, where were you? That's right. You weren't there.
No,
you were making up a fraudulent case about a terrible tragedy.
Let's see. What can I say happened so this doesn't look bad?
I'm really bummed. So Jeffy won.
Yeah, well, he cheated. He picked up the...
Yeah, he picked up,
There's an AstroTurf covering the lane.
Yeah.
He picked up all the AstroTurf and forced it forward. Just pushed his armadillo along behind it.
Well, you didn't expect Jeffy to play fair, did you?
I didn't.
No, I just assumed it would be more drug-related. I was surprised that he came up with something to
that the armadillos weren't doping.
Yeah, I kind of
feeding his steroids all night long.
Why is that one armadillo so muscular?
I had a great time.
Yeah.
If you didn't go to this year's M1 ball, make sure you come next year. This was great.
It's really fun. Great people.
Oh, really great.
Every once in a while, I forget there's cool people out there.
Yeah.
They're not just all. I think everyone is Twitter sometimes. I don't want to interact with anyone. And then you realize they're actually pretty cool.
I had dinner with Chuck Norris on Friday, and then for his charity, and then he came to our charity on Saturday. So I had 2 days of Chuck and Gina Norris. They are the nicest, most gracious people I think I know. They're in the category of the Bartons. Just that kind, sweet, never ask anything for themselves kind of people. Mm-hmm. The kind of people you just take advantage of if they weren't the Norrises.
If he couldn't kill you just with his eyelash.
Well, I don't know if you saw. I mean, did you make it to the Chuck Norris attachment for the AR?
Yes, I did.
How have we not seen video of this yet?
I don't know if there was any video. I said to somebody backstage, I said, make sure you get video, and I don't even know if they heard me. But there is a picture of it. But I took an AR and I attached a combat helmet to it. And then I attached the helmet to Chuck Norris. So it is an AR with a Chuck Norris attachment.
Is that legal? Is that illegal?
No.
You need at least 3 days.
Yeah. There's a 3-day cooling off period
Yeah.
before you get the Chuck Norris attachment. Yeah. So.
By the way, I did not see. I expected to see John Conyers at the M1 ball.
We didn't have any
shocking that he didn't
no
turn up.
sexual harassment people there.
I know.
Yeah.
What was there a ban?
We just thought it was nice for the kids
because he seems to have access to a giant slush fund that could probably help Mercury One quite a bit.
The slush fund, I believe, is your tax dollars.
Oh, it's definitely our tax dollars.
Yeah,
There's no question about that.
I don't like it being called a slush fund when it's our tax dollars.
How amazing is it, though, that John, I get a kick out of these people who say, read the bill. Conyers is now embroiled in this thing. He's what, 88 years old?
88.
He's been in Congress for 54 years. He's served 27 terms.
27 terms.
That should be a crime.
It shouldn't be
really
allowed.
No.
That's for sure.
Do you watch any of these guys talking? They're all so old. They don't have a clue. Nancy Pelosi doesn't know what she's even saying anymore.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I get a kick out of these people who say, don't grab women's butts. Don't fondle and squeeze their snoobs without permission.
Snoobs?
What good is waiting for permission when you might not actually get it? It's going to be interesting to see how that works out because, as you guys, I think we're talking about a little bit earlier, the hypocrisy is, the double standard is unbelievable.
Well, I actually
here.
like Nancy Pelosi's standard
Well,
due process.
But it only applies to him
Right.
and Franken.
Right.
It doesn't apply to Roy Moore, to whom she referred as a child molester. Okay, there's been no due process there. What about due process there?
Right.
A child molester?
And when you talk about child molester, there was one accusation of child molestation, and that remember that was the 14-year-old, the initial case. I mean, they've now gone to the point with Roy Moore where they're like, look, there's been 9 women who have accused him of this. One of the women is a 22-year-old whose accusation was he asked me out several times. That was the accusation from a 22-year-old. That does not qualify as an accuser.
Harassment. No.
I mean, there just gets to be this ridiculous level where.
But have you noticed? I mean, Al Franken, gift of gab. He should be able to power through anything, right? Mm-hmm. Listen to Al Franken as he is questioned over the weekend.
Are they mistaken that their butt was grabbed?
Listen.
Is that what you're saying?
I am not saying that. I don't remember these. As I said, I take thousands of photos.
Stop.
So I don't.
I'm not saying that. As I've said, I take the guy is thrown.
Wow.
These guys have never been pushed up against the wall ever.
Yeah.
Ever on anything.
Yeah.
Can you say categorically that you've
never
grabbed a woman's butt without her permission? I can categorically say no. I've never done that.
Never done that.
Not
Stunning.
once, not ever done that.
Yeah,
well, you know what?
me
You know
too.
why Franken is doing that is hedging like that, and I've seen this from several of the accusers and their defenders. Is that it seems as if you're calling out more accusers. So like
Yes.
you're if he says, well, no, I never did that, then you're like enticing women who either have had that happen to them or just want to attack you. Because as soon as you say, I've never done it, and another one comes out, it's confirmed. That's the way the media is treating these things right now. So you are opening yourself up to anyone coming out and saying that you do this. And if 3 or 4 happen, you're a serial harasser.
Is there a right answer for any of this? Because you can't say, I didn't do it.
I think the answer is I didn't do it and prove it. Because I'm the accused here. The burden is on you. Prove that I did that to you then.
Well, but
that would be my...
Are you calling these women liars?
Well, yes, because I didn't do it. Yes.
He is blaming the victims?
They're not victims if I didn't do it.
All these women are lying.
Yes.
All of them are lying.
All
is
of them.
That what we're supposed to believe,
Yes.
Pat?
I mean, if you have the conviction of the truth on your side, I think that's what you have to do, isn't it?
And that's essentially what Roy Moore has done.
Yeah.
But has it worked?
I don't know. We'll see on Election Day, right?
He may win this election. I think he probably will in Alabama.
Even
but...
let's say he's totally innocent, which I think is possible.
Well, especially because
it is.
What is it? They said 8 or 9 accusers. Only 2 have actually accused him of a crime. That's important to note.
Yeah.
One was the 14-year-old,
14-year-old.
and the other one was a 16-year-old who said that he forced himself on her, which could, she was of age, but he actually did something she did not want, right?
Yeah.
Where there was 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. The other ones were like, well, we kissed and I was 17. Well, that's definitely not a crime. Even, and then, admittedly, it's not even a crime if they had sex, but they're only accusing him of kissing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, creepy behavior, questionable behavior. If I have all these accusations right, and it's very difficult to keep them all track of at this point, but I think only 2 of them have actually accused him of something that would be illegal.
Seems like it, yeah.
So let's just say that those 2 are not true. Does he ever get his reputation back? No.
No, of course not.
You're done.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're done.
And there's really no way to deal with it. Because if you say, for example, some people have brought out other women who have said, wait a minute, I was around that guy for 20 years, working with him every day, and never saw anything like this. He was an incredible, he was honorable to every woman. He fought for women's causes. That's happened with Al Franken. It's happening with Conyers now. Well, that can't work because then you're just saying, well, congratulations, you didn't harass 24 women? Congratulations. What an achievement, right? Like they just mock you for that. If there's a letter that shows that or a picture, there's an Al Franken picture with this accuser, one of the accusers, 5 years after the incident where they're laughing in a jovial sort of fashion. Well, when that comes out, what do people say? Of course, these brave women have to put on a brave face and smile and continue to work with these guys.
Yeah.
They have no choice.
There's no onus on the women at all.
And it takes away, honestly, the way this is playing out is it takes away their agency.
Yeah,
it takes away their ability or any power they have. Because you're acting as if they have no choice but to sit there with Louis C.K. doing his thing.
The Charlie Rose accusations. You read about those last week?
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling.
Blows me away.
Now, if you were at his house and he comes out, you're there for a meeting of some sort, producer meeting with the host, and he comes out naked, and that bothers you. Do you show up a second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth time? That supposedly happens 6 times. You don't like it? Don't go. Don't go.
Now, wait a minute. Play the other side.
Don't go.
Play the other side. You've seen television. You've seen how nasty and stabby in the back television is. Mm-hmm. You're Charlie Rose. You know Charlie Rose is not going anywhere. CBS is not going to fire Charlie Rose. PBS, he's an institution. I know. Mm-hmm. But, old things.
Sure.
August or the old days. The old days. So he's not going anywhere. And you have the job of producing Charlie Rose. That is big. You go and tell CBS, and you want to be able to, be in the war zone and everything else, you got to just deal with it. You just got to deal with it. You want to go to the war zone? Deal with it. You couldn't deal with Charlie Rose.
I don't know.
It's an interesting decision of priorities, right?
To me, it would be what I would think if I were in that role. I would be like, yeah, but then I'm the person outing Charlie Rose. I'm the troublemaker.
That's why there's a lot of settlements, right?
I'm going to go to the war zone anyway. It couldn't be worse than that.
But you're going to save a lot of people down the line. A lot of other women won't have to go through what you did.
Yeah.
Right?
And the way that's framed, and it continually is framed that way, by the way. And I understand that decision is got to be impossible. And no woman should have to make it. And that's the most important thing. Like, no woman should be put in a position where she has to choose between her career and some harassment charge. That's not okay. But it's interesting in that it's continually framed that way by the media, as if these women were just like, you know what? I got an advancement in my career, so,
I'm going to see his naked, shriveled body again.
I got to see it again. I'm going to see it again.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's really unfair to the women.
Well, I think we are not empowering women. I think we are making women the ultimate crybabies. I think that have to be protected for everything at all times. I think in the end, This makes women less empowered, not more empowered.
Again, what a quarter of millennials say that being asked out for a drink is sexual harassment.
That's not empowering anybody.
Unbelievable. I get a kick out of these women who say, don't walk naked in front of me.
Glenn Beck.
What matters most? Doing something that really makes a difference. Saving the Christians and the persecuted minorities in the Middle East. Check it out for yourself, the NazareneFund.org, the NazareneFund.org. We're in phase 2. It's time we go global.
Glenn Beck.